The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Max Radio. So thoughts today, whatever is on your mind, lots of people talking about the nurses' protest earlier on this week. Also these plans for onshore wind farms. Michelle Haywood thinks all a good idea, she said. And are you one of the 400 patients that's been prescribed cannabis? Since Carson's Pharmacy in Onchan got the license. Just interested to know where the cannabis message is going now and whether or not that's working for you if you've been prescribed cannabis. So text, call, email and WhatsApp, 7 minutes past 12 on Manx Radio. And yesterday, lots of talk. Yesterday, we were, I think, mentioning... the boat yesterday was a subject of some debate, and of course now we know it's only going to do daylight at the moment. And also the fact that single-use plastic is going to be outlawed in a little, 3 months' time or so. And what will that include? But also, principally, lots of people are asking, will single-use plastic being outlawed, will that include dog waste bags? And if it is, what are we meant to use? David's with us now, first of all, on Max Radio. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. And I'm talking as an individual commissioner now, which I sent a letter to you, or a copy of a letter which is in the public domain. But I think a lot of people, definitely in Onchan and around the Isle of Man, are not aware of. So let's put it out to the listeners there to give some views, because there could be views in either way. And this is to do with weekend and overnight parking in residential areas. Now,
the letter is from Jeff Robinson, isn't it? The Director of Highway Services.
Director, and I checked today, he's still there. So it's gone out there, but I believe it's gone quiet. The media haven't picked it up, or yourselves haven't picked it up.
And was this sent to authorities or to individuals?
No, it was sent to local authorities. Well, it says on there, the trouble is when they retract blank things out, you don't know, but it just says clerks to the local authorities. Yeah. We've received it maybe 2 weeks ago, I think. So, and I've been listening out there, but there's no people coming on to say...
Are they asking for feedback from the authorities, from the local authorities, or from the public? This is about the department, the infrastructure department, reckons that they're going to define the vehicle just like the police define it, which is 1.87 metres high and 5.5 metres long. Is that right?
It says above that, yeah. So it used to be, in my reckoning, unless anybody comes on and tells me with authority, it used to be, it had to be 2 metres high or 6 metres long. I remember we changed the regulation when I was in Parliament, because the police had to measure the both, and they both had to exist. So, and what exists at the minute is that I know for a fact people have been on to me about large, and I'm not criticising all the motorhome users, but it's where they're parked and whether we should be. And hopefully people will come on and say, well, it's up to the local authority or government to provide somewhere for us to park, like Douglas used to do at the back of the grandstand, and charge.
Well, at the moment, there's lots of free parking at the back of the grandstand, so anybody could park there free of charge.
Well, I think they've knocked it on the head for larger vehicles. Right. I think they regulate. I'm not quite sure, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the town, but I just want to let people know that I would say when you're saying about consultation, the authority, it's gone to the authority, but then the elected members in local authorities, never mind the politicians, they're on holiday, the local authority members have to have feedback from people who may say this is a great idea. Oh, no, it's not a good idea.
So you reckon that members of the public, and again, if you're being, and this is all to do with basically big vehicles being parked in residential ares overnight. And for longer periods as well sometimes.
Yeah. We have a general one, and I'll say it all the time, by Uncan Park there, Belgravia Road, there are, and I don't mind saying that, I won't say the registration numbers, but there are 6 large motorhomes, and they've been left there. One of them's definitely been left there nearly 8-9 weeks. And then when you report them, suddenly they get a new tax disc. So which brings me to the question is, if a tax disc is out on a vehicle, it's an offence.
Well,
right?
If you're on a public road with an expired tax disc, that's an offence.
Yeah, but what happens when, 3 or 4 weeks after that, suddenly the vehicle's got a new tax disc on it? And I didn't see any tickets. But I seen a scooter there, and it was a scooter in Belgravia Road, and it's been there about 10 weeks plus, that had 3 tickets on it. I mean, great to the traffic warden. He stuck it on the handlebar, he stuck it on the seat, he stuck it everywhere. Somebody must have ripped one of them off. These notices where your vehicle's abandoned.
Yeah.
Or potentially abandoned, and they put a notice on the section, whatever it is, under the Local Government Act. It's by Tuesday, it's going to be removed. And all of a sudden, it gets a brand new tax disc, and it's still there. So,
how much of a problem is it, David? Large vehicles being parked in residential areas?
It's a nuisance, and I'll give you an example on that. When you have small terraced houses, right, in a narrow street, where a vehicle's parked virtually 3 foot, 4 foot away from the dining room window. Yeah. I know of a person who was grateful that somebody removed the vehicle because she got daylight. And you can't appreciate what that sort of thing is, and frustrates individuals this happens to.
Okay, so at the moment, this request for feedback's gone from Jeff Robinson, Director of Highway Services in Infrastructure, to the local authorities, but not to the public. So we're saying, if you're a member of the public and if you've got a gripe, get in touch with your commissioner, yeah?
Yeah, we want your views. Well, I definitely want your views. Stop me in the street. I don't mind if they come from anywhere else, because there's lots of things happening in Ramsey I'm aware of. I know people from Ramsey say these things happen all the time. And the other thing is, should we have big commercial vehicles parked in residential areas, which is a home zone? And I'll give you a little insight into it too. There was one the other day, big commercial horse box parked in Birch Hill. I know because I went up and seen it. And it was posed to me as a young kiddie going to school, Ashley Hill School, suddenly walks in front of it or behind it. Danger.
Well, that doesn't bear thinking about.
It doesn't, and I don't want that to happen.
All right,
Cheers,
David,
mate.
Thanks for calling today. It's 14 minutes past 12. This is a letter that's gone out from Jeff Robinson, who is Director of Highway Services from Infrastructure, and it's to the local authorities, and it's weekend and overnight parking in residential areas. During the spring, they discussed the need for regulations to restrict inappropriate weekend and overnight parking in residential areas, primarily large vehicles in residential areas. They're now ready to progress the regulations, and the department's wanting feedback on the proposal, importantly to identify areas within their particular area that they don't want to be covered by the regulations. For example, there may be areas where the local authorities contend for larger vehicles to park at weekends and overnight, and the department reckons that the authorities are best placed to identify the exceptions, which could range from a blanket exception, let's just say from the whole authority, but down to 1 or 2 streets. It's the local authority's choice, but it must be carried into the regulations as exceptions. So just something like a business park or an industrial estate is okay. The department's of the view that the definition of a vehicle that should be consistent across the Isle of Man, aiding enforcement by the police, local authority and the department. Now, the proposal is that vehicles more than 1.87 metres high or 5.5 metres long should be excluded from parking at weekends weekends and overnight in these areas. The restrictions will apply to all speed-regulated roads unless through regulations that are excluded by local authority. And again, the local authority may choose to exempt an industrial estate business park within that area. So the feedback, they've got 8 weeks. Local authorities have got 8 weeks to feed back to the department. And if you want to get in touch with your commissioner regarding this, and it sometimes is a very personal thing. If you have a whacking big vehicle parked outside your house, sometimes for days on end and weeks on end, that's the sort of thing that causes problems between neighbours. So if you've got any thoughts on the matter, the important specifications are 1.87 metres high or 5.5 metres long. Get in touch, text, email, call and WhatsApp, 17 minutes past 12 on Thursday lunchtime on the Isle of Man. And Brian's with us. Hi, Brian.
How are you today?
Oh, well, it's a lovely day, so everybody's in a good mood.
Well, I'm just laughing when I heard your previous caller on about the high vehicles.
Yeah.
I've owned Glenville Farm and Livery Yard for about 30 years, and we have a lot of horse boxes, which I've provided parking for the last 20, 30 years. Now, having seen an excerpt in the Courier about the parking around the tennis courts and Oncombe Park area, I got to thinking, I've got a patch of land down the back. It's over half a mile from any high road. It has good access to it. It was actually a pathway that was built 100 years ago for the construction of the Baldwin Reservoir. This is quite close to Hilbury Corner, but it's not overseen by anybody. And I thought, I wonder, is it worth me putting in a planning application so that I could provide for large vehicle parking down there? In advance of doing that, I put it to one of the commissioners, Mr. Derek Crellin, and I said, would you sound out the board and see what their thoughts are with regard to me putting an application in for this to become a designated off-road parking area for large commercial and non-commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
This he did. He put it to the board, and a certain member made no comment at all at that meeting. But the following day, the department was contacted, and they're now wanting me to explain why I've done all of this planning, carried out all this works without planning consent. Well, I haven't started yet. So, what do they want? Do they want individuals to provide a place to put these vehicles, or do they not? They've certainly put me off.
Oh, really? So you've given up on the idea?
Well, just at the moment, I feel like telling them to stick it. Why should I? I mean, they're coming at me, and it was really upsetting because it's so far away, they don't actually know what I've done or not done. They're making assumptions. They asked, would I permit them to come down and have a look so that they can advise me of what planning I need to apply for to make myself legal? That's like the police saying to you, do you think we could pop round to your house, have a look round and see if there's anything we can nick you for? I'm really quite annoyed about it. I'm more annoyed with Oncombe commissioners because it's evidently an individual commissioner that's made this complaint, and a bogus one.
But that seems on the surface just seems very strange. Why?
Absolutely.
Why would those circumstances appear like that?
You tell me. I'm always one for sending the correspondence to you. I'm happy to send these to you for a glance over. It's a bizarre thing. It really, really is.
I'll be more than happy to see that. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Good to hear from you. And Wilf's with us now. Hi, Wilf.
It's just a thought I've had for quite a long time. about the campers.
Yeah.
The people have been fined for being found asleep, drunk, in their car. The police have come on them and they've been fined because they're in possession of the keys of the car.
Right.
Now, I'm just wondering, I think, because I've been past lots of campers and things, and they've got tables out and there's bottles of wine and all the rest of it. And those people are in... I've got the keys of their camper. Don't you think if they're on a sort of a designated camping area, that the keys should be handed into whatever warden is there, whatever owns a campsite or whatever?
So what's the ruling? Do you have to be in the driver's seat with the keys, or can you be snoozing away in the back with the keys?
Oh, well, I've heard about people snoozing away in the back, but the keys is in the dashboard, you see.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And they could just get out, get back in the driver's seat, and off you go, half drunk, you see. Well, all the campers, or I would think most of the campers, have got drink on board. So it's just a thought that it might be a safety kind of a thing if keys on a site anyway was handed in to some sort of warden or whatever, or one camper took all the keys or something.
Yeah, I wonder what the law is on that.
Well, that's the thing, you see. That's the thing. I don't know. There must be a law on it. If you can get fined for going to sleep in your own car, and you've got the keys, then you can be fined for going to sleep in your camper with the keys.
How's the raft looking, Wilf?
Well, it's doing fine, only it's a bit cockeyed. It's floating a bit cockeyed. I don't know why. And it's a bit difficult for people to get on it because there's no ladder or anything put on the thing, and any kids can scramble up on it, but bigger people is having a bit of a job. But we'll get that sorted. It's floating anyway. It's working.
That's good. Well, so we'll soon find out because the schools break up tomorrow.
Oh, well, they'll get on it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Wilf.
Right. Okay.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for being with us. And Charlie's with us now. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, bye. I believe the law states that if the stabilisers on the corner of motor caravans are down,
right,
it's just legal for people to drink.
Oh,
because
is it?
It's not movable.
Oh, so if the stabilisers are down.
Yes.
And do you know that? Do you know that from personal experience?
I didn't have a camper van. I was told by a camper van owner that was the case. Another thing is, I missed it the other day about the nurses doing their protest.
Yeah.
How much have they been offered now?
Is it 6%?
Yeah, it's funny that because the powers that be some months ago got themselves issued a 12% rise. The MHKs.
Well,
I thought they were working for us.
Yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
I know, but the thing is, years ago, they gave themselves a 15% rise and got so much flack over it, they've now got themselves attached to the Civil Service Commission. So now they don't vote their own rate rises.
Yeah.
The Civil Service Commission. But the thing is...
That's quite right.
There's a minister in charge of the Civil Service Commission. So how does it change?
Yeah, I wonder. No, you're quite right. They're now attached to the civil service, Brian. They go on the civil service rates, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's getting ridiculous. It is.
Would you be an MHK for 70,000?
I'm too stupid.
Okay. All right.
I'd be put out of terminal for telling the minister down the road what I thought of him.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Cheers now. Nick's on as well now. Hi, Nick.
Hi, yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, fine. You're live.
Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, Eddie. I was going to comment on what Wilf was saying, but I think the gentleman before us already mentioned something. I didn't quite get it because the radio turned off. When I looked into the issue about drinking while you're camping about a couple of years ago, because we have a camper, and I don't want to get done for being intoxicated and in charge of a vehicle. So what I read was if you have the keys to the vehicle, this is like not a caravan but a camper van. If you have the keys set on a key hook or somewhere, away from the dash, away from the cockpit, and it's obvious that you really are not intending on going anywhere, then you are perfectly legal to be over the limits because you can prove that you're not going anywhere. But it's also at the discretion of the police constable that is asking you. I mean, if it's a judgment call from what I've read, I mean, if it looks like, if you put them in the ignition and just so you know where they are, then that's a bad idea, so, because you might mean that you've got ready to nip off to the chippy or something after. Yeah. But, but as far as I know, if you have them hanging up or put in a designated area or well away from the cockpit, then you should be fine. One other thing, I have a question about this new regulation about the length and height of a vehicle. Yeah. Because when we got our camper, we got it specifically because it was considered a vehicle, not a camper, as far as its length and height goes, because it would be cheaper to take on the ferry. Now, ours is, I think, 5.9 meters by 2.2 or something like that, if I recall. So that's going to put ours in the larger category if this goes through.
Yeah, it is.
And I live in Ramsey, and we park ours on our drive. We don't own it. We rent where we rent. We have a long drive, luckily. But it's always parked there. It's out of sight. If you look at the house. But we do like to camp, like outside Pepsi Max or just down the road where we can see the sea. And we just do one night and then drive off. And that's a really great I don't know what you liberation, I suppose, that we have to be able to do that. And we can go into town, or we can go to Pepsi Max or whatever, or we can go to the beach, all of this. And lately, since like the campsite in Solby, I can't remember. Anyway, they've stopped us camping there, the Clerics, and now they're stopped at the Ayers Nature Reserve. They're making it more and more difficult for people to actually use the vehicles for what they intend to use them for, other than going and driving hundreds of miles across England or wherever they want to go. I mean, and I don't think it's fair because not everybody leaves their campers in an undesirable place.
I think inevitably what happens is that it will be the few people who spoil it for the majority.
Well, you're absolutely right, and that is the case when we've been to other places that we'd like to go, which I won't mention because I don't want those to be restricted anymore. We've seen places where people have had fires on the grass and either destroyed the grass, or people are using tents where they shouldn't be, and leaving rubbish. And we pick up when we're around. We pick up after people. We pick up after ourselves because we don't want a reputation to be had by people with camper vans. It's very, very difficult. And there's one other thing. I think Wilf is probably well aware of. I think he's a Ramsey resident. Well, I know he is. I can't remember where his place is. But just down by the motorcycle dealership, there's or near the shipyard, there's about 10 campers parked there all the time. And I don't know if that's a legitimate place or not. It doesn't affect anybody as far as I'm aware. And it doesn't affect me when I'm driving through, from the swimming pool north. I don't see why not. Why these can't be allowed to be parked there on the road. It is a road with a speed limit, And the other gentleman, Brian, had a brilliant idea. Why is it shut down?
Okay. All right, Nick, we appreciate that. Thanks for calling today.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Bye.
Good to hear from you. With regard to correspondence, this is a WhatsApp in it. With regard to parking, I've got correspondence dating back to 2009 on the subject of oversized vehicle parking in residential areas. In fact, since May 2023, I've written 3 times to my elected representative, and I've not even had an acknowledgement from this. Andy, this is from Charles. I lock my keys in the safe, which is in the wardrobe of our motorhome, and also the driver's and passenger seats turn 180 degrees and face the rear of the motorhome. The driver's one locks in place, so it can't be turned. I'm not sure of the law, however, I can certainly prove there was no. That will certainly prove there was no intention to drive it. A message in from, this is from a lady who sent this. It just says, I consider this appalling, and I wonder if you've got any experience of this. Last evening, we found a sick gannet in our garden. We managed to contain the bird without coming into contact with it, then tried to contact all the relevant organisations, including the police, who weren't interested, or we had to leave a message. We contacted DEFA this morning. Their advice was to let the gannet go. This is a sick gannet. We've got chickens and wildfowl in our garden, and our neighbours have too. We're also surrounded by farms, so their advice, I think, is atrocious, in my opinion, and many of your listeners, perhaps. We don't know what to do. We've still got the bird caged on our property. What do we do with a sick gannet? Says this lady. Obviously, this is bird flu has been confirmed, so we don't know whether this gannet has got bird flu. But anyway, you're being asked not to touch sick or dead birds or animals after a guillemot tested positive for avian influenza. Over 70 dead and dying seabirds have been collected by DEFA across the southern and western coastline since the 11th of July. Samples from the carcass have now confirmed that at least one of the birds has H5N1 strain, which has killed hundreds of wild seabirds in the UK in recent months. So, can you tell us, what do we do with a sick gannet? The lady's got it caged up at the moment.
The pilot service got underway in December last year, with Carson's Pharmacy in Onchan having been granted a licence to...
That's right. Carson's Pharmacy in Onchan have got the licence to issue the cannabis on prescription. So exactly what do we do with that now? Have you been prescribed? Are you one of the 400 people who have been prescribed cannabis on the Isle of Man? Is it you? And how are you finding it? Is it working as far as you're concerned?
These days, we know you can run your business from anywhere, and virtual meetings are fine. But there are times when you need to talk to someone face-to-face, especially when it comes to accountancy services. We also know that the Manx Mile is actually 3 normal miles, and if you live in the north, a trip down south can take all day. So now, Shimmin Wilson has opened a satellite office in Ramsey for the convenience of clients in the north of the island. To arrange an appointment in Douglas or Ramsey, contact us online or call Shimmin Wilson on 627744.
There is part of me that thinks, there's something nice about looking up at it. I see them when I travel, and I always look at them and I think, there's a community that's made a commitment to not...
There she is. That's Michelle Haywood saying that she loves wind farms and we should too.
Welcome to the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, where you'll find fabulous reductions throughout the store, from beds and flooring to sofas, cane furniture and accessories, rugs, pictures, mirrors and even wallpapers. Plus, the friendly Miller Chaps team are here as always with a warm welcome and expert help and advice when needed. Don't miss the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, now on.
Creating a home where you'll love to be. Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
I'm Mike Buttle. On Tuesday evening, as part of Manx Radio's Island Life series, I'll finish my look at the Isle of Man Steam Railway by remembering the Manx Northern route to Ramsey. It's been well over 50 years since the last train clattered over the impressive viaduct at Glenwillan, but I've found a few people to share some lovely memories of the days when steam was king.
But we do hear many people stopping and telling us that they used to catch the train from here to go to school in Ramsey.
There was a machine outside the cafe that you could stamp your name on a strip of metal.
And the main thing was sitting in that train, going out there, and when we got to Sulby, I remember the train stopping, all the hissing and the noise of the train coming out.
That's Tuesday night at 6 and available as a podcast afterwards at manxradio.com.
Good to have you along. This is Mannin Line on Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
As if by repetition. Juan's on. Hi, Juan.
So the Manx, they can't go out at night time. Is that right, Andy?
At the moment, just daytimes at the moment.
Is that because it's too young to be out in the dark?
Well, it'll get dark at 4 o'clock in the winter, so she'll have to get used to it before then.
Yeah, it's maybe still a bit young for it to go out yet. It's unless it's woke, of course, then it can do anything it wants. I'm just picking up yesterday on Bonzo. I take that. Thank you very much for agreeing. But I've done the playback yesterday. I'm trying to think. You asked him what he agreed with that I said, and what he told you I didn't actually say.
What, public-private partnerships?
Yeah. I don't think I actually mentioned that. I don't think I mentioned that. But that's it. Yeah. Anyway, going on to the wind turbines, as soon as we're on that, Tim Crookall didn't put any pricing on this. There's no price with this yet. No price tag, is there?
As yet, no.
No, and we still haven't determined the output yet, have we? For the load that it's going to give us.
Well, they reckon 20 megawatts of wind power.
Okay, so and that's taken into account the days that it's not going to be running, the days that it's too windy, the days that it's not windy. I take it that they have taken all that into consideration, and it's not just a sales pitch.
I'm suspecting that Mr. Crookall read what he was given.
Oh, yeah. I just have this problem with assume at the moment with our government. And I do remember, I think it was a month ago or so, we had John Curtis on, and I put the question about wind turbines and a picture of wind turbines going down through the island, and that was denied, wasn't it?
Yes, but whose idea was that? Where was that? I can't remember. Was it 59 wind turbines?
Yeah, and that was kind of poo-pooed, wasn't it? It was kind of denied, but you don't just suddenly come out with an idea of wind turbines in a couple of weeks, do you? So I'm just scratching my head trying to work that one out. So and I don't know, maybe Head of News can follow this one up if she's not busy. I believe Alaman government this week has allowed all their people to sign documents or sign stuff off with their pronouns. How woke is that?
Oh, my word. I wonder why that is.
Yeah. And also NatWest, I believe, this week has got double-sided identity cards for their staff so they can identify on different days as someone else. Isn't it amazing? I'm just wondering how much of this, I mean, this is all coming from, again, we talk about these ESGs, and people are now starting to click on to where this is coming from. It's not law. It's being pushed on governments, and you get your credit scoring up by following these ESGs, which is equality and social governance. Is that right, Andy?
Environmental and social governance.
Environmental. It's the equality is in the DEIs, I think, isn't it? So all this stuff that's happening is to meet these agendas, which is not law. Am I correct in that?
It's not strictly law, but there are equality laws around.
Yes, yeah. I'm just wondering where all this is heading. You know, they're trying to follow all this stuff, and this is why no one can make head and the tail of what's going on. They're scratching their heads because nothing kind of makes sense, does it, here and back in the UK? And let's remember, just on a tag note, a lot of people come and retire here to get away from the madness of the United Kingdom because we've got something a little bit special here, and we're kind of drifting away from that now, I feel, with all this here abiding by these ESGs and stuff. So, that's my little thought for the day. I want to come on to...
Do you think we're becoming less Manx?
Oh, well, without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. You know, we've only got half a horse tram now, haven't we? We're definitely losing that identity. You just walk around town, you're losing that identity in different ways. But and I've said this many times, you're following these agendas, which are world agendas, which are not brought about by elected people. Yeah. They're brought about by these big companies that are forcing their will on people and saying, well, well, we're not going to deal with you unless you follow these air quality rules and stuff. And I mean, I could go a lot deeper, but I don't want to lose people in the conversation, because I know a lot of people struggle with keeping up with a lot of the stuff. I think myself and likes of Julian, we take it on board because we look at it so much and study it, but a lot of people get lost with the narrative on it. So
the thing is that most people have got lives that they have to deal with it all the time, and this, that sort of thing is peripheral to most people's lives. They just live their lives, don't they?
They do, and you're quite right. But the problem's going to be, and I've said this before, when you start punching and you have to fight, and you're fighting in water, you've got nothing to fight with. At least at the moment, you've got a bit of solid ground. And if you want your life or lifestyle to stay similar to what it is now, this is the time to use your voice and pipe up and say something, because we've got a load of politicians who are not saying very much at the moment about this. So if you don't like what's going on and you like your life where it is, then stand up and say something, because the time's going to come very soon where you're not going to be able to, and that's the problem that we've got.
Okay. All right. We've got to crack on, Julian, because the lady with the sick gannet's on the line.
I'm going to pop onto the sex education and the cashless society in the next couple of days.
Jolly good. Thanks for calling today. Denise.
Yes, it's me. Hello. Yes,
I know.
I'm the lady with the sick gannet who probably has avian flu.
How is the gannet?
Well, by sheer chance, thankfully, I'm so relieved. DEFRA's just arrived and are dealing with it.
And when did you contact DEFRA? Today? It was today, was it?
Yes, you see, it arrived last night, and I was desperately trying to get something done last night. But and then this morning they did say let it go, which I wasn't pleased about. But anyway, DEFRA has arrived, so all's well. And thank you very much for putting it on.
Well, did they explain? Did they explain why they'd said initially let it go?
No, they didn't. No.
Right.
No. But,
and how did you?
They're putting it down.
How sick was the gannet? How did you trap it?
Well, luckily, I have dogs here, and I had a dog cage. So it's been in a cage overnight, and so it was easy in a way. But I wasn't prepared to let it go because I've got chickens around, and there's ducks and all my livestock here on the pond and things. And I just was very unimpressed that they just said let it go. I couldn't believe it, really.
And do you think it's got avian flu?
Yes. The man's just said he thinks it's got avian flu. The DEFRA man has arrived.
Well,
so he's very professionally putting it down now and will take it away, thankfully.
Sorry,
it has been a big worry.
He's putting it down?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, he thinks he's got avian flu, yes.
Oh, I see, right, okay.
But you see, I've got dogs and things. I can't let them out in the garden because I didn't want them going up to the cage, and I didn't know if it was dangerous for them or anything, so... But yes, they've arrived, so all's well. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Denise, we appreciate you calling and clearing that up.
Yes, okay.
Cheers now.
Andy.
Bye-bye now. Good to hear from you.
Bye-bye.
17 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. And it's Denise, the lady with the sick gannet, that has now been put down. Good afternoon, Mannin Line, says Susan. I want to express that the nursing strike is more than just about pay. It's part of a package in response to the ignored concerns displayed by a serious lack of any responsive actions and resolutions. Susan says, and it's not just nurses, but all staff employed in the areas of public services. We're fighting in the same pools of resources for staff along with the UK. There's only a finite amount of staff on the Isle of Man. We need to attract qualified staff who can afford to live on the Isle of Man. Nice surroundings, great outdoors is no longer sufficient. If staff can't afford to relocate and remain, then we just won't be able to retain safe levels of staffing and care to be provided. Nurses are employees, but they're also potential patients along with the population. All have relatives, and we wouldn't wish for any compromise in care that could be provided, that should be provided to the best quality to be deficient. What's needed is to stop the short-sighted management of our beloved NHS, says Susan. There's been a significant increase in the high-level senior posts in the organisation, shrinking of inpatient services, reallocation of staff, and still no expansion in the complement of staff on the wards and in the community. Staff, says Susan, are working very hard, doing additional hours, and are often burnt out, but try to keep services running. We've relied on goodwill for too long. It's fast running out. We need to pay a wage to attract staff and to retain them. Listen and be responsive, improve communications and act. Provide relocation support not just funding, but information, practical support, recognise and reward best practice. We need to support and provide apprentice-style training so people can train and live. They need a wage for people in employment to train. There are also many who would do this and commit to guaranteed employment on qualification. We need to provide exceptional ongoing educational opportunities to develop and expand and maintain skills of the staff. We need to stop procrastinating, says Susan, and we need to do a can-do mentality. This isn't just nursing, says Susan, so let's get thinking creatively, be fair to all and protect and retain our staff. There are short-term and long-term actions that can make the Isle of Man a great place to work and live, says Susan. This is not just about pay.
Island Hearing Limited, your local hearing care specialist since 2009, with branches in Port Erin and Ramsey. We provide the very latest hearing aid technology available, which you can try at home, with excellent aftercare and a wax removal service available using microsuction. Give us a ring on 830 722 or visit Island Hearing at One Station Road, Port Erin. We're happy to help. Island Hearing, always listening.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
Tired of furniture that's, well, a bit tired? It's time to feel the love this summer and freshen up your home with Paradise & Gel. Save up to 30% on our latest collections and bestsellers in the summer sale. From sumptuous sofas to stylish dining and beautiful bedroom ranges. But be quick, because it must end this Saturday. The Paradise & Gel summer sale at Michael Street, Peel. You'll love our furniture. You'll love our prices.
Come together for a night of pure Beatle nostalgia with the Bootleg Beatles. Journey through the swinging 60s with the world's most successful and longest running tribute, bringing the sounds and the atmosphere of the Beatles to life for one night only. Book now at villagaiety.com or on 600 555. The Bootleg Beatles, August 10th at the Villa Marina.
Half a century on from the fatal inferno that destroyed Summerland, a series of 3 programmes on Manx Radio.
When I saw the fire actually start, there was a small puff of grey smoke that came from a hut alongside of it.
Why was Summerland built? A multi-million-pound solarium on a small island of hills, glens and beaches.
This is William Hardcastle, and later in today's Word at One, why did Summerland burn so fiercely and so cruelly?
What happened on that August night?
Well, there's fire brigade at the top now. There's another fire engine coming along. Here comes the police now.
And what now? Where does Manx tourism go from here? Summerland, the full story, coming soon.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
11 minutes to 1. Chris is on now. Hi, Chris.
Good afternoon, Andy. Just a quick one for you. It came to my attention that there is a tug on standby for the Manxman to assist her birthing at a retainer of £4,000 a day.
On the Isle of Man?
I am not absolutely certain where she is, but they are being paid £4,000 a day just if she needs assistance. Now, supposedly the new Manxman has lots of power, and the very professional crew should be able to manage her, but it seems that rather a large overhead to be quietly added in.
Well, you just wonder whether that's an initial investment and whether it's for a few weeks or whether... I wouldn't have thought that's going to be ongoing. Surely not.
Well, one would hope not, but it would be nice if the steam packet could tell us.
OK, right, we'll try and find out, Chris. Thanks for calling today.
Very good. You take care now.
Good to hear from you. It's 10 to 1 on Manx Radio. She's only going to be doing daytime sailings at the moment, Manxman. She'll be starting, I think, this weekend, to and fro to Heysham, and then we'll see what happens. She is certainly wider, I think, one truck wider each side, and but no doubt they'll be doing all the practice runs and what have you, and by By the autumn, it'll be absolutely, a grooved skill. On the subject of medicinal cannabis, it transpires there's no way of obtaining a prescription, says Texter 450 on the Isle of Man, other than registering with an off-island company with which you share health records. Is this true? I find it off-putting for as many people would rather be seen on the Isle of Man. The company originally going to do this isn't allowed by the government, having been told it's all fine in autumn 22 to proceed. Well, 400 patients have been prescribed cannabis since the island pharmacies started dispensing the drug. The pilot service got underway in December last year. Carson's Pharmacy, of course, in Onken, having been granted the licence to dispense cannabis products. From the start of the service to February this year, 455 prescriptions were dispensed to 148 patients. Between March and May, the number rose to 874 prescriptions with 335 patients. In total, 395 patients have received prescriptions since the pilot began, with some having been prescribed cannabis products in both periods. The figures were published in response to a written Timble question from the Speaker of the Keys, Joan Watterson. Currently, the drug's only available to patients paying for a private prescription and not on the NHS. A broader review of the cannabis-based products for medicinal use service is scheduled for next month, but the Department of Health and Social Care say it's not currently considering bringing it into the scope of NHS services. Now, if that's you, if you've got an experience with the cannabis prescription, then by all means do, if you want to, just get in touch and tell us how you've found the service so far. Norman's with us now. Hi, Norman.
Yeah, I know we've talked all about this before in electric vehicles and things, but all I want to say is anybody's got the paper today, the Daily Mail, there's a very good article in the centre of that paper today about AV vehicles, and not as green as we think they are, and it's really worth reading. And
have you got an EV?
Pardon?
Have you got an electric vehicle?
No, I haven't got one, no.
Would you buy one?
I thought about it. Would I buy one? Well, I did think about it one time, but when I'm starting to hear all these things now, I'm not so sure, because I think we're going down the same road now, I think, as the diesel, when we had the Dieselgate business. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks for that.
I really, at the moment, if I did, I would only go hybrid. I wouldn't go
a full electric vehicle. Yeah. Okay, Norman, thanks for that. It's good to hear from you. A note in from Texter 600. The bird sanctuary at the Balaf Currachs is being sold. Is that true? They've drained it and it's going to be sold. How can this be allowed, says Texter 600. I didn't know. Is that true? Is that correct? DEFRA apparently isn't taking any action. The bird sanctuary at the Balaf Currachs is being sold. I went to the bank yesterday, says Barry. I've already got an account in joint names, but I requested to open another account in my name only. No, I had to make an appointment, and in order to make an appointment, I had to give all the information needed during the appointment. Went to another bank on the Isle of Man to open an account, told it would take 4 weeks to process my application. I had all the documents with me. I'm going to be opening an account off the Isle of Man, says Donald. Some bank accounts seem to be very prompt in opening bank accounts, and since the kerfuffle with Barclaycard and what have you, you can certainly get credit cards on the Isle of Man. I got a message in, just some more messages in regarding cannabis, but also regarding wind turbines. Robbie on 773 just got back from 6 weeks in Thailand, you lucky so-and-so, where we drove hundreds of miles. In all that time, we only saw 8 wind turbines and only saw 2 properties with solar panels on them. With all the sun that Thailand has, and only... Were you in the countryside, Rob? I'm guessing you were. So do they have wind turbines in Koh Samui, I wonder, or do they have solar panels around there? Michelle Haywood surely is a hypocrite. The fact she won't allow, she got campers prohibited from the airs, but she wants wind turbines to be built. We're hopefully going to be talking more about wind turbines and the effect that wind turbines have on nature in the coming weeks, and also to find out questions concerning the sustainability. We talked about wallabies destroying the structure, the ecology of the Isle of Man, because they're non-native species. And as far as we know, nobody's contradicted me, but I'm sure wallabies don't have a natural predator, apart from old age. But there is no natural predator. Nothing is above a wallaby in the food chain, apart from man, of course. And we've heard that roadkill wallaby has been dressed and cooked and eaten and apparently tastes absolutely fine. It's only a matter of time, really, isn't it? I suffer from leg pain with a loose plate insertion from a broken leg operation. Says Joe, I'm on opiate-based painkillers from the doctor, but I'd happily use cannabis as a more healthy alternative. The problem is, it's the price. I simply can't afford the consultation fee and the monthly costs as I'm on benefits. I'd gladly pay half if the government would just pay the other half on the NHS. Obviously, the public is paying for opiate-based painkillers, so why not just pay for the cannabis? Also, users of the cannabis plant is vast and could help save the NHS millions while creating trade and work. Cannabis is very easy to harvest, environmentally friendly. Canada and other forward-thinking countries have legalised small amounts of cannabis for personal and recreational use, and it's proving very successful. Where are we up to in this regard? That would also stop the criminal supply in the black market, with the profits going back to society. Well, the Peel Group are onto this. The behemoth that is the Peel Group, obviously they're pitching for that solar farm around Bilown Mansion, the home of Mr. Whittaker, but they're also pitching for a cannabis factory, really concentrating on medicinal cannabis and the cannabinoids and the chemicals that you can harvest from it, which is to be built, if the planning goes their way, opposite the top of Annika on the Cool Road. I think it's also going to go right down to the back of the old Hotchkiss nurseries. Remember Poster Road? But that's in planning at the moment. We'll see. We could be right at the front of the technology for cannabis, but we'll find out more as the day continues. And thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Back tomorrow.
WINT.